Native people, Native culture, Native knowledge. Hi, I'm Jeannie Green, bringing you award-winning Heartbeat Alaska.
Bringing you national and international Native news, this is award-winning Heartbeat Alaska, the premier Native voice in Native programming.
There's a heartbeat, louder thunder, revolution is in the air. There's a heartbeat deep inside our mother. Are you too cool to care?
Now, with Heartbeat Alaska, here's Jeannie Green.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Heartbeat Alaska Native News and Native Information. I'm Jeannie Green. Today we take a look at Part 2 of Drumbeat for Mother Earth, a program detailing persistent organic pollutants. It's a great show, an important one too. We'll see you right after this. Hey, everyone. Help us welcome one of our new sponsors, Wave Wholesale Company, your one-stop supply source for village retail stores, food service customers, and government agencies. Welcome aboard, Wave.
You got it.
Heartbeat Alaska is brought to you in part by Coca-Cola.
Can't beat the real quick.
Heartbeat Alaska is also brought to you by Alaska Village Electrical Cooperative, turning the lights on in rural Alaska.
Heartbeat Alaska is sponsored in part by Chugach Alaska Corporation.
It's a new day.
BP and ARCO, shared energy for a bright future.
Every corner of Alaska, every state has its own unique beauty, and that beauty may be threatened. Today's program is Part 2, Drumbeat for Mother Earth, Persistent Organic Pollutants.
Wind is such a strong element. It can be soft, gentle. It can be very strong and powerful. And the wind is what helps to, pollinate. Wind helps to carry life.
We have some clans that are connected to the Eagle Nation, Fish Nation. We have many clans out there. We have some people that are connected to the Bear Clan. My relatives in our way is the bear. I work with the bear. So it affects me when the polar bear is contaminated. And I know in my mind, in my heart, that the grizzly bear and the black bears are also being contaminated from these same toxic chemicals that we're talking about.
I'm a member of the Turtle Clan, and although, there aren't a lot of studies, we don't have a lot of information on turtles as we do on fish. Certainly, we know that the turtles live in aquatic environments, and we've seen the decrease of turtles in our waterways.
We also have a relationship to the plant nation. The plant nation also sustains us, like this plant here in front of me.
Nosotros tenemos una tradición muy grande en nuestras plantas medicinales y también en nuestras plantas de consumo, ¿no? Nosotros tenemos esta tradición que cuando vamos a cortar una plantita, tenemos que platicar con esa plantita. Tenemos que pedirle el permiso a esa planta para que no se destruya. Yo como persona de cultura, yo tengo que hacerlo, y si va otro compañero tiene que hacerlo también lo mismo, y por eso yo busco la protección yo quisiera un apoyo o algo para qué se puede hacer para proteger esas plantas y proteger a mi gente y también pues para trabajar nuestra tierra, para que siga, para que consigan el sustento de cada día, ¿no?
Let me ask you this, as we look toward tomorrow's program at treaty rights, you know, what good are fish and hunting rights if the fish and game are contaminated?
My ancestors signed a treaty in 1820, and that was ratified, which was essentially confirmed in 1980 in our land claim settlement, that we would have a right to fish in our river. And for the past 10 years that those fish, that river has been, to our awareness level, completely polluted, we have not exercised our treaty right.
Sovereignty can't be taken away. It's given up by tribes, either through treaties in exchange for reserved rights or through agreements. And, you know, of all the treaties that were made with the indigenous nations of the United States, I'm sure all of them have been broken. But the current, today, type of sovereignty that the tribes can exercise is guaranteed to them through federal law. It's not our law, it's federal law established through the U.S. Constitution and through the Supreme Court case law and through executive orders. So the federal government, because of treaties and agreements with tribes, have the trust responsibility to ensure that the tribe's rights and uses are protected.
I don't think the U.S. government has taken responsibility for the contamination in the Arctic. We're the sinkhole. The north and the southern poles are the sinkhole of all the contaminants from the U.S. Everywhere we go, I've been to Congress, I've talked to congressional members, I've told them what I'm telling you, how it's affecting us, what we see on the land, and they don't listen. And it's just like talking to a wall. It doesn't affect them. They don't see it every day. They don't live where we live. They don't live how we live, and they don't understand what it means to us. So, no, they'll never hear us until it's too late, maybe.
You know, this government never really wanted us around. This government has a whole history of genocide, policies that are written in the historical documents, from the introduction of smallpox-infected blankets that were issued by the government agency, policies of totally devastating our tribal villages, removals of whole populations. A lot of our elders, they still tell me that this is occupied land. In many ways, it's no different than the guns and rifles of the cavalry that had a campaign to wipe out our native people. There's a lot of similarity with the actions of the cavalry and the actions of current policy that are failing to protect the health and the future of our native people.
We're being killed, literally killed. So when I talk about genocide in a historical context, I don't mean to do that. It's really currently going on.
Oh!
How do we deal with this? Do we just simply reduce the amount of these pops being released into our environment, or should there be a worldwide ban on these chemicals?
Several years ago, the United Nations Environment Program launched a process so that we will end up, we believe within the next couple of years, with a global legally binding agreement to reduce or eliminate at least a beginning list of 12 of the pops.
I think a lot of our Native people are familiar with treaties and the treaty-making processes of the past. This is a treaty-making of present. It's very strong because it showed the delegates as they went in to talk about the issues of persistent organic pollutants, what the purpose, one of the main purposes of the internationally globally binding treaty is supposed to have, which is the protection of the future generations.
It was almost like a religious experience. Many people expressed that afterwards. They were saying something that was very strong.
Well, it's important that the language in the treaty be as strong as possible.
We've been an active participant on the international debates on persistent organic pollutants.
They've been very active. They've been sending a lot of their technical staff.
We've been actively working with the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency on its own strategy involving persistent bioaccumulative and toxic substances.
Sending their attorneys, their policymakers.
And as in the past, we will work for reasonable public policy.
It's kind of a form of economic blackmail.
The chemical industry is in a funny position. At an individual level, if an individual chemical company has a problem because there's dioxin or PCBs that it's responsible for, it will deny that there's any problem at all. If there's any proof there's any health associated with these pollutants. They'll just stonewall. But at the global scale, the trade associations, the chemical industries understand they can't just deny.
We believe that there are, obviously, deposition of some substances in remote regions is an issue of serious concern.
The nature of POPs makes them inherently unmanageable. They can't be, there is no effective way. Every effort to better manage and better control POPs will ultimately fail. If they're used, if they're produced, they enter the environment, they build up in the food chain. They don't disperse and become more dilute. They become concentrated in the food chain. They travel long distances. These are not substances that humankind is capable of properly managing and properly controlling. And therefore, elimination means a systematic policy to end their production, to end their use, to end the activities that generate them.
We have to step up to the plate. We have to go in and be present. We have to have our voices heard. We have to do this on our own. The State Department nor the UN process, neither are going to come and ask us what we think, but they will hear us when we speak. But we have to go before them and speak clearly, speak loudly, and be very present, and have our say in why this is important to us and why we want the governments of the world to take responsibility for their contaminants and their impacts on our lives.
Es necesario empezar ese proceso, porque si no lo hacemos hoy, cuando lo querramos hacer mañana va a ser muy tarde. Lo único que yo podría decirles es de que no por nosotros, sino por las futuras generaciones, hay que empezar a no regularizar, sino empezar a prohibir y eliminar el uso de todos estos pesticidas que nos han hecho mucho más daño que el beneficio que nos han traído.
We don't know how long it's going to be there, and we don't know we don't even know all the effects yet, and we haven't even seen the effects, all of the effects yet. But so just everybody's lives depend on it, not just us in the north, everybody.
They have a choice, essentially. They have a choice to get the courage to make these changes. Their other choice is to essentially be compliant and be a party to genocidal practices. So to me, it's not even a choice.
This is my #1 mother, this earth. My mother that brought me into this world is the true reflection of this #1 mother. So we have to respect these things. Our Father Sky, the creation, the creative principles. And there's a balance there. There is a natural law that takes place, a natural law. In a lot of our teachings, it talks about these things of how we have responsibility as Native peoples, as indigenous peoples throughout the world. And I've talked to a lot of the indigenous peoples about these things. And they all have something that's very consistent, is that they understand our relationship to our mother, the earth. And they understand that we have a responsibility to take care of this earth. And those teachings have been integrated into our tradition, into our values, to who we are, our face, who we are.
So to change your lifestyle isn't the answer. To change your lifestyle would mean to walk away from your culture, to walk away from the things that you've known, to walk away from the things that help give you your identity, your inner strength. And these are very important. I mean, this is everyone, you know, every group of people have a right to believe, they have a right to practice their religion in the ways that that they choose to, particularly those that the ways that have been passed on to you from the people before you.
So we had the first Gwich'in gathering in over 100 years in Arctic Village, my hometown, and it was a traditional meeting. There was no agenda. It was everyone that got up to speak. The only requirements there was they talked our language, they held the talking stick, and they spoke from the heart. And everybody got up and spoke. People that are shy even got up and spoke. That's how much it meant to us. And they talked about how important the land is, how important the caribou is, how important the calving grounds are. And a birthplace to us is sacred because it's a place that brings forth life. And the elders said no birthplace should ever be disturbed. So everybody discussed how they felt. And then we reached agreement by consensus. All 15 Gwich'in villages from Canada and Alaska would fight to protect the birthplace of the caribou with one voice.
We need to work together, bring in our tribal leaders in the united front to protect our people, our tribal citizens, our grassroots, to protect our traditional practitioners, our women and our children, and our future generation.
I want my baby to be able to canoe upriver and to not have to smell the mills, nor have to paddle through foam.
As we do this work, addressing these issues, a day doesn't go by when I don't think about the impacts to my children.
To know their culture, to know their language, to know their family, to be free of the worry of whether the food they eat is poisoning them, to bear children of their own that are strong and healthy, mentally, physically, and spiritually, to have strong minds, strong spirits, and strong health. I think those are the same hopes and dreams that most people have for their future, and those are the dreams that I have, and I will do what I can, as I think as any mother would, any grandmother would, to do my best to see that they have that chance.
dream comes to me. Of the wind blowing leaves, and a whisper to me. Oh, oh, it said it should have never been this way. Now we don't wanna go back to where we were, where we were.
So why is it important that Alaska Natives be counted?
Census 2000 is almost here. In fact, the first person in the United States to be counted will be in Unalakleet on January 20th. Everyone needs to participate, especially in Alaska, and most importantly, in rural Alaska. Congress, state and federal agencies use census data to fund programs such as housing, health, education, and many other vital services.
So what do we lose if I don't get counted?
Even if a few persons in your community don't participate, your community could see drastically reduced services. In the 1990 census, 11,000 Alaskans were not counted. What this meant for the state for 1 year is $17.6 million of reduced services. Let's make sure this doesn't happen again.
Thank you, Indigenous Environmental Network, for making this program possible to our Heartbeat Alaska viewers. Now we have some Native American music just for you.
You are mine, great Alaska, and your beauty I behold. Snow-capped mountains, deep blue glaciers, winding rivers that run so cold. Hear the birds sing in the twilight of the summer's midnight sun. You are mine, great Alaska, and I'm proud to be your native son. Oh, the beauty of your summers, wildflowers bloom as snow recedes, warm winds blow in from the ocean, hills are red with fireweed, boats are painted, nets are mended, ready for the salmon run. You are mine, great Alaska, and I'm proud to be your native son. I have braved your coldest winters, I have fished your stormy seas, I have trapped your lakes, your rivers, happy memories of my childhood follow me where'er I roam. You are mine, great Alaska, and you'll always be my home, sweet home. Yes, you'll always be my home, sweet home.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us on Heartbeat Alaska. Native News and Native Information. I'm Jeannie Green. Join us again next week for more informative programs that touch your lives. God bless you. We'll see you then.
Oh, Lord, my